Hey bookworms.
I'm BookMouse.
And I'm BookKitty, and this is our BookNook. Today we'll be taking a look at Love Bites by Lynsay Sands.
It's book 2 in the Argeneau series.
Normally we do book 1 in any series, but because I just moved last week, I couldn't find it in my collection. But I found book 2, so that's the one we did. So the Argeneau series is my favorite book series. Out of everything I've ever read, it is my favorite book series. Lynsay Sands gets me time and time again. Right now, currently, there are 30 Argeneau books. The last one actually just came out on my birthday on Tuesday. I haven't been able to buy it yet. I'm actually about 10 books behind, unfortunately, because oh my gosh, I just love this series so much. Growing up, I was always into vampires. I know it sounds a little cliche, but I mean from the age of from my preteen years. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Interview with the Vampire, these things got me into vampires and the whole lore and everything around them. And I won't get into it. I could do an entire video, my interest in vampires and the different worlds and how they work together and everything. But I'm not going to do that now because right now we're focusing on Lynsay Sands. Lindsay created an entire world, which of course we all know I love, is world building. But she did it by addressing different members of the family. So in her world, vampires are, first of all, they don't like the term vampires. They prefer immortals because they're not actually vampires. It's just the closest thing that people can relate to. They can understand what some of the characteristics might be. Though most of them are wrong. Garlic and holy objects have no effect on them because they are not in fact damned souls.
And they can do their makeup in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. They're not demons. They are actually descendants and a few actual survivors of the fallen Atlantis.
Yes.
Atlantis, way back in our history, is said to have sunk to the bottom of the sea. Well, in this world, they were super scientifically advanced, which most myths do acknowledge. And they were so scientifically advanced that they had created these nanobots that would go into the blood of a person to cure disease, cancer, I can't come up with any other terminal illnesses right now.
Severe injuries.
Severe injuries, injuries and illness, anything like that. So, well, it turns out they engineered them just a little too well because they were supposed to dissipate after they corrected the illness and then exit the body. They didn't do that. They, as the nanobots were programmed, they understood that the body's always taking damage from age, always taking damage from sun, or using your energy to do physical activities, and all sorts of things that do any kind of wear and tear to your body. Kind of like just driving your car on a really nice paved road is still going to put wear and tear on the car. So the nanobots just never dissipated and exited the body. They just continually
repair the body.
They just continually keep up on it, just constant maintenance. It's like having a housekeeper at your house all the time, just consistently cleaning every little thing, every little mess that you make. And
the vampire legend comes in because the bots are powered by the host's own blood.
Yep. And and they use more blood than the body actually has. They require more fuel than the body can provide by itself. So in Atlantis, they started blood transfusions. This was an easy fix. They just would have to get blood transfusions every now and then. Until Atlantis fell, and they found the few that survived went over the mountains and found a prehistoric our world. with no blood transfusions. Well, the nanos are smart as hell and started adapting the body. They started to grow fangs, not permanent ones, but you'll find that out when you read the book. They started to get really good night vision and some of those characteristics that you might have heard of. And now that our world has advanced a bit, because it takes place in relatively modern times, now that our world has advanced a bit, they can no longer have to feed on humans directly. And a matter of fact, it's outlawed, except in the case of an emergency, in which case you're not allowed to kill them still. But the Argeneau family actually runs a blood bank that's specifically for these immortals. It's specifically delivered, just like milk delivery back in the day. The books are classified as a paranormal romance. And when I first read the series, or at least the part that was out at the time, I really vehemently disagreed with that. I disagreed with being able to put it in any genre because there's a lot involved. There's thrill, there's mystery, there's excitement, there's adventure, there's even a little bit of horror, but more like personal horror rather than like horror movie horror. But there's some bad things that happen to some of these characters, and it kind of sucks. But now that I've reread this book and do plan on rereading the rest of the series because I love it so much, I noticed I kind of understand why it's a paranormal romance, why it's classified as that. Now I know the author also disagrees and would prefer to it not be labeled that way, but that's what it is. I think it could reach a wider audience if people could explain that there's so much more to it than just romance. I mean, there's definitely romance parts. There's definitely sex. The most mind-blowing sex you've ever read in a book, due to the circumstances of life mates, which is a whole nother thing about the world that I just really can't get into in the time that we have. You'll have to read the book because it's so good. But each book is focused on a different member of the Argeneau family, and their offshoots and cousins and so on and so forth. And what I love about this is it's very much how you describe Jane Castle's books, in the fact that she links things from one book to another in the series. She'll reference an event from book 3 in book 5. Like, it's just the timeline is kind of crossing over, and they'll mention like another character is dealing with this other problem that you already read about or that you haven't read about yet because it's later in the series. And I love that because you can tell that she put so much work into it.
She's consistent with their relationships, descriptions of their lives, the brothers, the cousins, even their mother.
Even the characters that get introduced to the family. Because almost in at least almost every book, probably every book, there's a new person being introduced to the family.
Yes.
For some reason.
So I haven't read all 30 books, but I have read quite a few of them, and I do have my favorites. And the one thing I like about each book is that these are not overpowered super beings, and they can still be socially inept, like Etienne. He is isolated himself. He has discovered the world of modern technology and kind of locks himself in his basement with his computers designing video games.
Based on vampires.
Yes.
Of course.
So when he finally meets a woman that he's interested in, he kind of messes it up a little bit.
Funny thing is, he meets her and he's not even really interested in her first.
Not at first. She's just somebody he's run into in the course of his being persecuted by Pudge.
Mr. Wannabe Van Helsing.
Yes. So I like the fact that she doesn't make it easy for them.
Mm-mm.
They don't just, I'm immortal, I have money, you will love me.
Even if we take into account that they have life mates and this person is supposedly, a lot of the characters look at the life mate as being, oh, this person was made for me. Apparently that's how the bond works, is that is like that person is specifically designed for you. And there is a rule in the vampire society that has to do, the immortal society that has to do with you can only turn one person, so hope it's your life mate. Yes. But you could meet a vampire who could be your life mate as well, an immortal. But anyway, point is, even if you do have somebody who's made specifically for you, they still have to work at the building of the relationship.
Yes, it's not a love at first sight instant.
Oh, we're life mates. Okay, so
we're gonna live happily ever after.
Let's get married.
Yeah, they have to work for it. They have to deal with complications in their lives. I like the fact that this story and all the other stories, there's usually a bit of intrigue going on. They're dealing with the vampire hunters. They're dealing with a mad scientist. They're dealing with kidnappings, and
hemophobia.
Yes.
Imagine an immortal who has to live off of blood having hemophobia. That's Lynsay Sands' story. I forget the name of that book, but I'll put it on the screen for you.
But it's nice that she doesn't wrap it up in a bow, and I like that. I like that there was some thought put into the story. I like that it feels, yes, they're immortal, so it doesn't feel real, but it feels plausible.
Yes.
And that, to me, made it worth reading the book in a day.
4 hours for me. 4 hours.
So, yeah, it was a very good read. And I have to be honest, I found the series in and of itself rather enjoyable. And as BookKitty said, new one just came out Tuesday.
I'm so happy. I'm happy that she's still writing books. And she also has, I don't know if any of you are interested, but she also has a historical romance series taking place in the Highlands of Scotland.
Another adventure to explore.
So, Book Mouse and BookKitty give love bites 4 paws up.
So join us next week as we start to explore the Kingdom of Valdemar in Mercedes Lackey's book, Arrows of the Queen.
Ooh, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss it. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about who we are and why we're here, go ahead and click the video over here. And if you'd like to take a look at The Alchemist by Michael Scott, go ahead and click down here.
This has been Book Mouse
and BookKitty signing off.